Okay, we're starting the college prep English class for homeschoolers on April 30th. And let me share the screen. Okay, we're off and going. All kinds of interesting things to do. I gather there's a tie-up on the freeway, so we may have more people coming by shortly. Let me do just a little bit of background here. You folks have been through it, but it may not hurt to go through it again. What was your name again?
Oh, Marissa.
Marissa is joining us to take a look at the class. Marissa teaches art classes here at EIE. And so it'll be interesting what you think of what we're doing here and whether you think you might be able to contribute something artistic to it. Here's our agenda, and I tried to make a point. I'm going to open up the assignments. I'm not sure it makes an awful lot of sense to do that, but let's just give that a try. The assignments forum, we're using a software package called Moodle, which is, I'm just using the basic features of it, but one of the features that it allows us to do is create multiple forums, or strictly speaking, fora, which we can then post items into, and this is our forum for the agenda. Occasionally other people post in it, but usually it's just mine, and you'll see almost always for every week we're going to have an agenda, and then we'll have notes afterwards and assignments, and sometimes ancillary assignments, sometimes supplementary assignments as well. And so each class will have 2 or 3 postings, and each one of those postings will look something like this, at least the agenda does. And I don't like being terribly rigid about anything. On the other hand, the preparation is there. If we decide to ignore it, that's fine, but we always know what we're doing and where we're going to go back to. Now, the top of each agenda is going to have something very similar to this. The class event page will take you to a page on Google Plus that will allow you to watch the feed as it's coming through as a Google Plus member. And there's the link there. Also, there's a YouTube page, and this is where the feed will be stored. And there's a playlist here, which, when I remember, will contain links, or will contain all of the lectures that we've done. I have a different playlist for each one of each years, but this one goes back to September. And this is just a basic link to the informational page about the classroom itself. Hi, Dawson, come join us. I don't know about the others. We will see what happens when whether they come or not. Usually they let me know when they're not coming, so I expect it's a traffic problem. This link is just basic general information about the class. If you haven't looked at that would be a good one. And let me know, and I'll put you on the list in here so you'll receive these. Okay. And previous classes are there as well. So that's just up at the top of every agenda. You get a link of those. And then we start into what we're doing. And that becomes terribly flexible. I mean, we'll do this maybe, or if something else inspires, by all means, we'll jump ahead and do that. And we'll go in various different directions. And usually we have far more here than we can take the time to go through. But if there's something else that comes up, I don't want to ignore it. Let's look at, we've got one major submitted project this week, but it's by one of the members who hasn't arrived, so we may wait on that one. Dawson, you were talking perhaps about doing some sort of a presentation on on papers for college application?
Oh,
Yeah, you did at one point, but that's entirely up to you.
well, I got busy and forgot.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay,
Um,
okay. It's just that we did mention it, and I forgot it, and so I felt bad about that we didn't cover it that week. And we've decided last week to start Twelfth Night. Now, this was decided, I believe, in your absence. Have you seen Twelfth Night already? Did we do that in the class that you were in?
I think we did.
Okay, well, I apologize for hitting it again, but that's the way it goes.
That's fine.
Okay. Dawson has been in this class for, I've had people in this class for as many as 3 or 4 years, because we're always doing something different. Okay, so I'd like to look at 12th Night. Also, we looked last time at the Ngram viewer. I'm not sure I want to take a chance on trying to run that while I'm running everything else on this poor ancient creaky machine, but we could do so. I did ask you folks, however, to experiment with a little bit. Did you do so, and did you learn anything? First of all, what is an Ngram viewer? What does it do?
It searches the usage of words in literature's use over the past whatever set of years you want.
Right, right. And I'm not sure exactly how far it goes back. I haven't changed those parameters, but the default is to start at 1800, which indeed is a pretty good span. Did you try looking anything up on it?
Not really, because most of the definitions I search up on Google, it already comes with its own mini Ngram viewer of the past 200 years, so I haven't used that too much for anything.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, it's nice because it will let you put up multiple ones and lets you see whether poverty-stricken or penurious is more common in one specific decade, and how the usage of those two, the frequency of the usage might change over time. And often you see spikes in interesting things. We may come back to that if ever anybody's interested. Okay, I'm not sure anybody got to these. I threw this one out there, said, if you would, please read and comment on these 2 chapters. Anybody looked at it at all?
No, I didn't get a chance to.
Okay,
I did read the George Orwell Politics in the English Language. So.
You did.
Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. We'll ask you to tell us something about it. Okay. These 2 chapters, as you know, I'm working on a book, and these 2 just came along this week. And it's a rough draft, so you're going to find things in there that are worth correcting. But as I've tried to explain before, I think one of the most important things in any kind of a class is for the teacher to be doing something, doing indeed what she expects the class to be doing. And so if I want you to write, my best way to do that is to write and get you to look at that and see if it will inspire you to do some writing as well. We will leave that one up there then. There are 1 or 2 little things in there I wanted to throw at you, specifically in response to a paper that came in this last week about improving our ability to learn and how best to maximize that ability, which is what Connor handed in this week. It has some interesting flaws in it that are worth addressing, specifically mechanical flaws, but I really want to look a little bit at its content as well. Unfortunately, in this environment, we really don't have a lot of argument for the other side of the issue. Nobody's going to come in here and argue the advantages of public schooling over homeschooling. But I had a talk with a friend of mine, actually a former teacher of mine, yesterday on that subject. And it's amazing how from intelligent people you can get some fairly cogent arguments for the traditional schooling paradigm. And I find that mysterious, really, But the fact is, he maintains that all of the people in my classes, you folks, for example, all of the people I'm writing about, certainly my kids and my experience with former students, all of these are special students. What about the rest of them? Okay,
It's
well,
quite a few special people.
I'm sorry?
It's quite a few special people.
Indeed. It's
Everyone here seems to be special.
exactly.
Everyone's
And I'm
special.
afraid that's the answer, isn't it? I mean, as Gatto
Mhm.
contended in his, and indeed Connor, and also in my paper on genius may be a common condition. If it weren't for schools, it could be an epidemic. The same contention is made that everyone is special. And the trouble is, if you deal with everyone as though they're exactly the same, well, eventually you're going to force them to be exactly the same. But it's no guarantee. Working with people individually, doing homeschooling is no guarantee of excellence. It's not a guarantee of mediocrity, like public school is, but it's hard sometimes to find what it is that will inspire someone to sit down and write, for example.
One of the problems I see with comparing homeschoolers to public schoolers is the fact that there's a difference between who goes into homeschool versus everyone else goes into private school. The homeschool children are usually in a different environment from a lot of the public school children. So if you compare them from doing that, then the individual ways they're taught may not have as much weight. I mean, I don't know, but it skews the analysis of it.
Yeah, it's very difficult to do a serious comparison there. And indeed, when one takes into account private schools, there's an enormous range there of material that they can cover. There are certainly homeschoolers who don't do a good job. My daughter, she went through basically the way she describes her homeschool, and I feel this is ideal, is, well, I wasn't really homeschooled, I just taught myself. Indeed, I think that's the responsibility of any teacher, to make students self-teaching, not to make them reliant upon a teacher for whatever inputs and whatever resources they need, although the resources should be provided, but to make them capable of learning on their own. And I think that that's so important. It's almost the opposite of what one gets in public schools. But her, looking back at many of the other homeschoolers she knew, she felt many of them were not particularly well served by the process. It depends entirely on the parents, what the parents are capable of. And in some cases, any parent can do a wonderful job if you can just get a bunch of parents together and do something collaborative. And indeed, that's what we're doing here to some extent. One of the biggest problems, of course, being language. Now, you folks, we're talking last week, and I think it's absolutely marvelous that you and Kyle and Connor are basically trilingual. This gives one a great deal of perspective on things. But indeed, the acquisition of language is entirely automatic, but the language that one acquires is going to be what one hears. And for that reason, I don't feel that children should be deprived of the kind of language you would like them to be speaking. Choose a sentence that he or she would not like to see come up. How many classes can you say that of? Now, that's one of the problems that if you're going to be a homeschooler, in other words, make sure to work on your own language, because that's what's going to make all the difference to the kids. Okay, Gabriel, would you like to tell us a little something about Orwell's Politics in the English Language?
I really liked how you picked out like 5 different articles of works, and you pinpointed how some of them, the writers they want to say something, but they can't describe it the right way, or they get lost in their own vocabulary and they end up saying the wrong things. So it totally destroys like the point of the essay or the topic that they're covering.
And in some cases, that destruction is intentional. They want to obscure, they want to obfuscate the meaning of what they're presenting and deliberately tie it up with language. Very often euphemisms that don't really convey what they're talking about. Recent euphemisms that I'm sure you've heard all about are things like collateral damage. What is collateral damage?
That isn't that damage that came from something else. I'm
Let's put it this way: it's unintentional damage. In other words, you killed a friend, and so oops, that's collateral damage. Well, it's still damage. It's there are problems with that sort of thing, but calling it collateral damage softens its effect, and that's the intent of the euphemism there. What is a euphemism?
A euphemism is something where, isn't it, where the literal meaning, it's not taken so much as the literal meaning of the individual words as much as the meaning of the entire phrase?
Not necessarily, although one can certainly have a phrase that softens the meaning of something. That's what a euphemism does, is it softens or makes more acceptable the meaning of something whose real meaning is somewhat unacceptable. One of the common household items that one will find is always euphemized is the toilet. Can you think of various different euphemisms that are used for that? The facility, there's one euphemism. The head, the water closet, the little boy's room. I mean, there are dozens of them. You know what we called it in our house? The euphemism. And this is well, my daughter, from the time she was 1 or 2 and was learning to speak, euphemism was a little too big for her, so it was the mism. And so that's what it became. Okay. Thank you, Jan. Orwell, interesting writer. His works are very important because they cover the ills of society and certainly the potential future ills of society. In 1984, talking about futuristic dystopias, and Animal Farm talking about the Bolshevik Revolution. The writing, I've never been that inspired by, the words and the language. Mm-hmm. And since this is a language class, I made these entirely optional. It's entirely up to you. Where are they? Here we are. Orwell's 2 major works, 1984 and have you read those?
No, I haven't. No.
You have to know about them. They're important. They're standard reading in classes, and should be. But there are other people who have written about the same things and done a better job, I think. Certainly one of them, indeed, is Christopher Hitchens, who wrote about Orwell. He was a biography of Orwell, but nobody wields the language the way he does. Okay, Steven Pinker and Ian McEwan talking about good writing. I left that on, although it was on the agenda last week. Did everybody get a chance to look at that?
Yes, I finished that one this week.
Now, what did you think of it in general, especially his treatment of what is correct and what isn't?
I mean, it was really interesting. It was a different point of view where what's correct is what is almost the usage, the way people dictate. Eventually it becomes correct once most society accepts it. And he says that language isn't, he has a very optimistic view of language, that it's not going downhill, it's just always changing. But at the same time, we, especially now, he somewhat mentioned it, where with technology and with things like Twitter, where we can only use 184 characters, he said? 100 something characters, yeah. Where you're forced to combine everything into something so small that we start shrinking our vocabulary into smaller and smaller words. And so I'm not sure if he was completely right when he said language isn't deteriorating, but then they've been saying that, he says, since the printing press was invented. So,
well, it's an interesting point. I do think language is degenerating. certainly in this country, certainly the commonly accepted popular language tends to be degenerating. I shared at one point, I think it was some other class, a paper someone had written on the vocabulary used on the SAT, and maintaining that why should we learn these words that aren't being used much anymore? Well, clearly this person had not been reading literature and didn't realize that indeed these words are being used, will be used. They just commonly are not used in popular culture, which tends to be dictated by public school and by television and so forth. But one area where I disagree seriously with Pinker and with you, I think, on this one, and that is the medium or the media. We're talking about Twitter. We're talking about different kinds of social media, which do tend to shape the language. But I'm afraid I don't blame the media. It would be perfectly possible to start a trend of using the medium, using Twitter, for example, to use really good vocabulary, meaningful vocabulary, words that actually have a semantic payload with them instead of the common everyday usage. And then that same medium could be serving an entirely different purpose, if that makes sense. So I don't like the concept, for example, of people saying, you got to do more reading. You got to get kids to read books and stop watching TV. I'm sorry. The TV is just a different medium. And now we've got devices in our pockets which give us interactive media of different sorts. It's up to us what we want to use it for. And of course, that's why I give you things like this. You know, turn on the audiobooks of Orwell in the background while you're doing something else. Use the different media. Go in and watch Gilbert and Sullivan opera, for example. Operas are intended to be watched. You might need to have the text in front of you. It helps a lot. But you see my point. It's not the medium that's at fault. But language is degenerating. And I'm afraid that I do blame that largely upon public school, because I just don't think there's a great deal of appreciation for the masterful use of language. Okay, let's see. The Adventure of English. Now, thank you very much, Nathan, for giving me that, what was it?
10-minute
10-minute synopsis of the history of English. How many of you saw that? By the way, you did see that I posted that inside the same page here together with the history of English, the Adventure of English. Did you all get a chance to see that one?
I haven't seen that one yet.
No.
Please make a point of it. Okay. It's delicious. That one would be worth going and looking at. Do you think we can trust the machine to do that? I'm not sure I want to take 10 minutes for it, though.
I mean, we could. Whether the
let's
machine will
wait and see
survive or not.
if we have time for it. We have so many other things to cover. But yeah, in this page, and I'll leave that up until we finish it. This is going to be an ongoing project because when you mentioned the history of English in 10 minutes, I looked at it. It's delightful, but I mean, it is terribly superficial and fragmentary. So what I did was give you another version, which was the history of English in 8 hours, and put that one in there. So put that one on in the background when you're doing other things at home and listen to it. It's really very, very informative. It's important to understand the various stages of the English language and how it developed. Okay, so we'll leave that one up there, and anything Hitchens says is beautifully said. You may not agree with him. There are a lot of things I don't agree with him on, but he certainly knows his Orwell, and he makes a very good presentation on that. Okay, and here I give Krauss an opportunity to redeem himself. You remember we had that presentation with Krauss and Chomsky, I think.
Yeah.
In which Krauss just, his language fails into fumbling inarticulacy. And as is the case with so many American academics, he doesn't care. He doesn't notice. He just goes right on. You listen to somebody like Hitchens, he'll occasionally make a mistake, but when he does, he'll recognize it and fix it mid-sentence. Whereas American academics tend not to do that at all, tend to just let it go. But here, Krauss, and so I thought I'd give him a chance to redeem himself. He's after all not an English teacher, he's a physicist, but still. Okay, now, Mikado, you've had that a couple of weeks now. How did we do with that?
I have yet to get there.
Good grief. Okay, because I know that these two, the ones who are not sitting right here, will have gone through all of those, and they're going to need some new stuff for next week. So it's piling up, it's accruing. Okay, let me just give you a little bit of background on the Mikado. I'm not sure that we need to say much more about it. I did go through and examine with you a good deal of the text, especially some of my favorite little parts of the word craft that went into that. And I was hoping that would inspire you all to run out and want to see the whole thing, maybe multiple times. But it didn't work, did it?
I want to, but then I got caught up watching 12th Night.
Okay, well, that's good. There's nothing wrong with 12th Night. And in fact, we have so many versions of it. Before coming down today, I decided, well, let me go and look at least at, again, the earlier acts on there. And so I'm looking around for a new one that I hadn't seen before. And I found an audio-only version in which David Tennant is playing the role of Malvolio. Now, that was very unexpected. Who is David Tennant? Where have you seen him? Any idea?
Not necessarily.
Okay, he was the one who played Hamlet in one of the major Hamlet versions that I gave you last fall. We have to call it, if you'd like, the sci-fi lovers Hamlet, because David Tennant was Doctor Who for some years, and Claudius, the king, was Patrick Stewart, Jean-Luc Picard of the Starship Enterprise. So anyway, it had some major sci-fi people in it. Tennant, however, interestingly, did it in a fairly generalized RP accent. Of what RP is?
No.
An English received pronunciation.
Oh.
However, in this one, he speaks in his own accent. He's a Scotsman. And you can hear the Scottish coming through Malvolio in this version, so it was very interesting. Okay, let's look at Twelfth Night. I think I should probably bring up the entire text here. Have I done so already? Ooh, I should make sure that all of these are loaded first. Okay. Yeah, here's the SparkNotes version of Twelfth Night. I don't really like this. We don't get as much on page, and I like to have the whole thing. But if necessary, we can search through it somehow. Okay, wake up. Okay.
I think all the advertisements and different things on the web page are scaring your computer.
Yeah, I don't like the advertisements on this one, and I only put it there because it has some advantages. I do want to take you through this at some point too. Okay, that's Connor's paper, which we will save until he's here. All right, we've got it up there. I don't really like that, though. I think maybe we should just bring up the full text. So let's go to the 12th Night page and bring up the full text. What this one does, while that one is arriving, is it gives you a modern English translation. And so it's okay. It does lose so much because so much of what Shakespeare is in the language itself. And you don't get that when you try translating it. But because it's giving it to us at a page at a time, I don't think we're going to comfortably be able to notice my split infinitive, jump forward to specific parts that we want to visit. So perhaps it would make sense to do it this way. This is a very nice production. This is on YouTube right now. It's from 1969. And back here you will see Sir Alec Guinness as Malvolio and Sir Ralph Richardson as Sir Toby Belch. Two of the four knights of the English stage, Sir Alec Guinness and Sir Richardson, the other two being Laurence Olivier and Gielgud. It's a very good production. It's not my favorite. My favorite is this one that I mentioned here, the 1980 BBC version. But that one has been posted, but then vanished. This is Kenneth Branagh version, came out in the mid-90s. Very different. And Branagh always does a wonderful job, but he intentionally put it in a snowy environment. After all, it is midwinter, but you have to realize also it's Mediterranean climate. We're talking about Illyria. Where is Illyria that Twelfth Night takes
Isn't
place?
that one of the
It's-
Greek islands?
Well, it's
No, very close.
it's over by in the
Over-
Balkans.
Exactly. It's part of what was Yugoslavia and has since become one of those things that are either Serbia or Bosnia. I'm not sure exactly how they broke it up, and I'm not sure exactly which one Illyria is assumed to have existed in. But in any case, it's on the east coast of the Adriatic being that strip of ocean that separates, Greece and its regions from Italy. Okay, so being a Mediterranean climate, how many times do we have snow here?
Once every
Probably about
half
as
a
often as they
century.
have it in Illyria. But those are good versions. Go ahead and watch both of them. Then if you like, and go down here and listen to the audiobook version. Plenty of choices here. And I think what I would prefer to do is go off and just find the Gutenberg text itself and bring the whole thing. Okay. Nice big type. Okay, this is wonderful. It's all there. Okay, let's discuss it first, and then figure out which parts we want to jump in and discuss. First of all, here's an illustration of a scene, rather an interesting scene, from the Globe Theater production from a little over a year ago that ran throughout the summer and was videoed, was filmed, and was shown here in very special releases in this country. And I went and saw one of those, and I bought the DVD. Do you recognize anybody in it?
Stephen Fry.
Right. That's Stephen Fry as Malvolio, exactly. And it's Mark Rylance as the Lady Olivia. He is a very, very fine stage actor, but because he's done very little in the way of film, nobody's heard of it. But he's a remarkable character. So what they did in the Globe Theater was attempt to do everything exactly as it had been done in Shakespeare's time. And so the theater was identical, and the theater was weird. We would think of that very odd by modern terms, in that the the gentry had little boxes on the walls in which they could watch, and the rest, the groundlings as they called them, were standing. There were no seats down below there. They stood through the entire performance, and that's the way they did this one as well. Interesting. Anyway, I don't have that one to share with you because it's not available online anywhere for free. If anybody's really interested, I'll bring the DVD and lend it to you. In any case, they tried to do everything exactly as they did in the original one, and that included finding the original button molds for the costumes and everything exactly the same. And among other things, at the time it was considered improper for ladies to be on the stage, and all the parts were played by men and boys. And that's why Mark Rylance, looks so odd there. But that was apparently consistent with the practice at the time. Okay, I threw this little thing together. Let's look at that as we go along. Twelfth Night is all about love. And you've got all kinds of different kinds of love taking place. One of the ones that I find so fascinating, and this is a Shakespeare play that displays it so effectively, is the love of learning. And in fact, it's really very core to the play. Anybody have any idea what I'm talking about there? Not a clue. Let's take a look here. We have, we start out with the scene, of course, with Orsino, and you've seen that, in which Orsino is clearly in love with love. He is thoroughly smitten by a lady who really doesn't care he exists, and whom he doesn't really even know particularly well. He communicates back and forth. And he is listening to music, and he said, "This music be the food of love, play on, give me so bit of it." You know what that first scene's all about. Well, we can come back to that if you like. But the scene that I'm thinking of is this one here. We've got a number of different characters. I think we'll go back up to our dramatis personae, our list of characters, and define them. In fact, maybe we'd like to create a map of the characters, as I've done with some of the others. I haven't found one for this one. But we've got, who are our characters, first of all? We've got the Duke Orsino, sometimes called the Count Orsino, who is in love with the Lady Olivia, another noble character in Illyria. We have sort of the two major characters, in a way, who come into the scene by being shipwrecked. The ship has gone down off the coast of Illyria, in the Adriatic, presumably, and two people survive that we know of, but they don't know, each of them doesn't know that the other one has survived, and they are twins. And their names are Viola and Sebastian. Now, what does this tell us about the twins? Our twins here could probably explain that in greater depth. It says they are not identical twins, because we now, with our understanding of genetics, realize that identical twins are never of different sexes. Shakespeare didn't know this. And so he had a pair of identical twins. One of them was a boy, one of them was a girl. This is one of the premises that's going on here. And so Viola is saved by this captain and manages to make it to shore, and says, "Where am I? You're in Illyria, lady. And what should I do in Illyria?" And so the captain helps her out. She tries to figure out, well, what's she going to do there? And she asks about who rules here. Well, there's a duke who rules here, and then there's this lady Olivia that's the Duke is wooing, and he decides, well, I'll go to her and see if I can get a job. And I can't do that very well because she's in mourning and she doesn't want to see anybody. So, okay, well, I'll go and work for the Duke. But to do that, she decides, I'm going to dress like a man and pretend that she is one, because indeed that would make more sense if she's going to serve a lord instead of a lady. And so, yeah, she will admit no kind of suit. We're talking there about the Lady Olivia. And then she decides, I prithee, and I'll pay thee bounteously, conceal me what I am, and be my aid, for such disguise as haply shall become the form of my intent. I'll serve this Duke. Conceal me what I am, help me disguise myself. And I'll serve this Duke. Thou shalt present me as an eunuch to him. Okay, a eunuch is someone who's neither male nor female. And this is the last time in the play that that's ever mentioned. From that point on, the assumption is that she is disguised as a perfectly functional male. And so it's rather odd. We get these little contradictions in Shakespeare from time to time. I'll serve this Duke. I'll present him to me. Now, notice this. This is one of my favorite lines in the whole thing here. It may be worth thy pains, for I can sing and speak to him in many sorts of music that will allow me very worth his service. What else may hap to time I will commit, only shape thou silence to my wit. Notice, actually rhymes these last two lines, and it's all scansion specific. It's nicely constructed with the rhythm, but he goes ahead and rhymes the last two lines. What is he saying? What is she saying here? Of course, she's going to become a he shortly.
She's saying basically, go and introduce me, and I'll work for him as guy, and I can sing very well, and so it'll be worth it to you if you introduce him to me.
Okay, very good, very good. I think actually when she says it's going to be worth thy pains, she thinks it's going to be worth it to her. But indeed, she's going to pay him for it, and is expecting him to be quiet about the transformation. What is she? She has no passport. She has no identity. She's landed on this foreign shore. But one thing she does have, I can sing and speak to him in many sorts of music. He's not really talking about music. She is educated. And this education simply wins out time after time in the story. She goes and she speaks to Orsino, and he immediately sort of adopts her and decides to use her as his emissary to woo the Lady Olivia, because indeed she speaks so well, and because she has this mastery of language. And then she goes and visits the Lady Olivia. And what happens then?
That's when the lady falls in love with him, who's actually her.
That's exactly right. I was looking at some little synopsis of this recently, and the synopsis was an interesting one. I hadn't seen this before. It says, never send a boy to do a man's work, especially if he's a girl. Okay. Anyway, so Orsino sends off the lady, his new minion. Cesario is Viola's name. The name that Viola assumes when she goes and introduces herself to him. And indeed, he appreciates her and her abilities. And she proves him right. She comes to the Lady Olivia with this spiel all written out ahead of time and memorized. She explains that when she comes in and she talks to him and says, please let me give you my spiel. I've taken great pains to con it. I've taken great pains to learn this And then she starts speaking with the Lady Olivia, and that's just an amazing scene, and it's played so differently in different versions of it. So it's worth watching different versions to see how it's done. So let's talk about the Lady Olivia's house and her household. Who is it that lives in the Lady Olivia's household?
There's her on the secretary. What's his name?
The steward?
Yeah, yes, the steward.
Right, Malvolio.
Then there's the drunk.
I'm going to, yeah, the trunk.
Yes, the drunken uncle.
Let's go back up to our dramatis persona here. Okay. Malvolio is steward to the Lady Olivia. We've also got a servant here. This is rather strange that this person should exist, because it's another contradiction. We have a point where Feste and Sir Andrew and Sir Toby are putting together this plot against Malvolio, and for some reason Feste bucks out and disappears, and this other character Fabian steps in instead, and we never understand why later on. It just, I guess, you know, you can't help wondering, somebody needed a part, so let me just create a new one, something like that on the stage. Okay, so Orsino, the Duke. Sebastian, we haven't talked about Sebastian yet. He is Viola's twin brother, who also survives, but she doesn't know he's survived, and he doesn't know she is survived. Antonio, sea captain, who finds Sebastian and rescues it. And the sea captain whom we've just been talking with, who rescues Viola and helps her to disguise herself. And we've got a couple of servants for the Duke. They're not important. Sir Toby Belch, the uncle to Olivia. They are consanguineous, as Sir Toby puts it. What does that mean? Of the same blood. Remember sanguine? I think that was on your vocabulary list. Sanguine really comes from the word for blood. And so a sanguinary conflict is a bloody battle. However, to be sanguine about something is to be happy about it or content about it. And this comes from the old idea that if you have a ruddy complexion, somehow you're jolly, like Santa Claus. Okay, and so sanguine has taken on that meaning as well. But consanguineous means we share the same blood. We are blood relations. We're consanguineous. So Sir Toby Belch, Sir Andrew Aguecheek, what functions he perform?
He's the friend of Sir Toby, right?
Right.
And then he's just really dumb, and he just hangs around with them pretty much all the time.
Right. Why does Sir Toby Belch put up with him, and why is he there?
He was there visiting. He was only going to stay for a little bit, but then he got convinced to stay longer because I don't remember why.
Very good point. He is there because he has money. And Toby Belch, as we discover eventually, is getting Aguecheek to pay for all the drinks and everything. And what he's doing is he's promising Aguecheek that Aguecheek has a chance of wooing the Lady Olivia. Lady Olivia is wealthy. And Sir Andrew, after all, he's a knight of the realm. It could theoretically be viewed as a potential suitor for the Lady Olivia. However, he is adult, or as Sir Toby puts it, a clodpole. Okay, now Aguecheek doesn't really realize this, so Sir Toby is just taking advantage of him. And when he says he's about to leave, as you say, Sir Toby persuades him not to. So he's just sort of hanging around there, and they sit around drinking and singing songs and having fun all night. Okay, Malvolio. Malvolio. Wonderful role to play, and we probably should do that a little bit. Who is Malvolio and what does he do?
He's the killjoy of the house, pretty much. He goes around saying, "It's time to go to bed. Why are you still partying all the time?"
Right. He's described at one point as being sort of a Puritan. Well, we don't really know how much of a Puritan he's really expected to be, but he's a kind of Puritan, is what is described as. And he doesn't like the way Sir Toby behaves, and they all treat him rather badly. But he also has aspirations. He has dreams of glory, dreams of advancement. And we see this, and we know that it's happening. The others are aware of it too. He will make a point of memorizing verse so that he can have it handy and spout it at just the right moment. This is mentioned in the text. And he will con screeds of material that he can present in order to appear learned. So he's also regarded as something of a narcissist. In fact, that's the way he's first introduced. "You are sick of self-love, Malvolio," says the Lady Olivia. Okay. Now, we've got a pretty good idea of these people. Which part is your favorite part in this first act to go and visit? Shall we jump in and find a part? Let me throw a few of them at you, okay? What happens is the Cesario goes and we get a little bit of Sir Toby and Sir Andrew playing around. There's nothing much to this, but we get to know who they are. And the one person who really does seem to understand things fairly well is Maria, the Lady Olivia's serving maid, or her maid. And the one person who really understands everything that's going on is Feste, the jester. Lady Olivia's jester, Feste. And he's always playing little games with people and mind games and word games. And this is indeed what a jester is expected to do. And so he's a very interesting character. And he hangs out with Sir Andrew and Sir Toby and drinks with them and sings catches with them and so forth. But he also plays a number of other interesting roles that we will see later on. Okay. But I'm going to skip this part of Sir Andrew and Sir Toby. Yeah, you go ahead and watch it by all means. But let's see. They talk about cutting a caper. Okay, and then Viola speaks with Valentine. And Valentine tells Viola, you've really gained favor of Orsino, and he's constant in his favors. You're going to do well. And then Viola is sent by the Duke to unfold the passion of his love to the Lady Olivia. And Viola said, well, I'm not sure this is going to work. We'll leave it. It will happen. And it'll work better with you than it will with one of my older servants. And said, I'll do my best to woo your lady. But here we suddenly realize that poor Viola, who has come and started to work as a boy for the Duke Orsino, has fallen in love with Duke Orsino. So she is in love with the Duke. The Duke is in love with the Lady Olivia. So we've got a wonderful two parts of a triangle here. Okay, and then we have this scene with the clown coming in. The clown has been AWOL for a while, and he has to make good his entrance again. And he does this, and we can look at the language at some point, but we've got to plow on a little thing. Give me leave to prove you a fool. Can you do it? Dexterously, good Madonna. Make your proof. And so he proves her in a way. Why mournest thou? Good fool, for my brother's death. Remember, she's in mourning. I think his soul is in hell, Madonna. I know his soul is in heaven, fool. The more fool, Madonna, for mourning your brother's soul being in heaven. Take away the fool. Okay. So this is the kind of banter that they're playing around with. Okay, and then here, this is sort of important to realize. Malvolio doesn't like the fool much either. And he says, I marvel your ladyship takes delight in such a barren rascal. I saw him put down the other day with an ordinary fool who had no more brain than a stone. Look now, he's out of his guard already. Unless you laugh and minister occasion to him, he's gagged. Not a nice thing to say to someone who lives through his fooling, you see. And you are sick of self-love, Malvolio. Okay. There's that line. And now, somebody's at the door. From the Count Orsino, is it? I know not, madam. This is a fair young man and well attended. Who of my people hold him in delay? Sir Toby, madam, your kinsman. Fetch him off, I pray you. He speaks nothing but madman. Fie on him. Go you, Malvolio. If it be a suit from the Count, I am sick, or not at home, or what you will to dismiss it. Send him away. She doesn't want to talk to him. And then the lady has spoken out in favor of clowns, and that's much appreciated by Veste the Jester here. And then in comes Sir Toby, half drunk and suffering from pickled herring, which are not agreeing with him at this point. Curse on these pickled herring. And then we have some wordplay with lethargy and lechery being mangled and mistaken for each other. And some more fooling with what is a drunken man like? Like a drowned man, a fool, and a madman. One draught above, he makes him a fool, the second mads him, the third drowns him. Anyway, interesting fooling is what's happening here. And then let him approach. And so Viola comes in, now dressed as a man, she's wearing a sword, she's attended by others apparently who have remained outside. The honorable lady of the house, which is she? They're wearing veils, and she's never met her anyway. So, okay, speak to me, I shall answer for her. Most radiant, exquisite, and unmatched beauty. Pray, tell me if this be the lady of the house. I never saw her. I would be loath to cast away my speech, for besides that it is excellently well penned, I have taken great pains to comment. Good beauties, let me sustain no scorn. I'm very comfortable, even to the least sinister usage. In other words, she's sensitive and doesn't want to be made a fool of, and she's put an awful lot of energy into this ahead of time. So she's presenting an interesting presence here. Whence came you, sir? She's asked, of course, you understand whence, whither, hither, thither, thence. We should go through that set of 6 direction words at some point and understand them. They exist in a number of different languages, but they work in different ways. We've always got the same 6, but they work in different ways. So she's asking, where did you come for? I can say little more than I have studied. And that question's out of my part. So where did you come from? This is one of the things which, of course, is assumed in so many parts of the world, especially in England, but almost never here. And that is, you listen to somebody speak, and within a moment, you know exactly where they came from, what kind of education they have, what kind of accent they have. You see what I mean? And this is certainly the case in England. Very, very different dialects all over the place. And so, where did you come from? One important thing to understand about English dialects, again, is RP English, as I spoke before, as I mentioned before, is the common educated language which does not define a regional source. It simply means I have learned to speak properly in education somewhere. If not in a public school, then through elocution lessons, which indeed is what the upper classes were always expected to do, elocution lessons. So indeed, her accent probably does not reveal where she's from. It reveals only that she's educated. And that's not part of my part. That's not part of the part I'm playing. Good gentle one, give me modest assurance if you be the lady of the house, that I may proceed in my speech. Are you a comedian? No, my profound heart, and yet, by the very fangs of malice I swear, I am not that I play. What does she mean there? I am not the part I am playing. Yeah, so and very clearly she's not, because she's playing a boy. And indeed she's playing a boy, not a man. Malvolio makes it very clear when he is asked about who's at the gate. Well, not old enough to be a man, yet young enough to be a boy. You see, somewhere in that youth range. And then they have this interchange here, in which Viola and Olivia are talking to each other, and Viola demonstrates remarkable insight and felicity and mastery of language. We should probably read the whole thing through here. This is one of the big sayings. Now let's start at this point. Okay. So the Lady Olivia says, you know what? We have been suffering all this semester for lack of a female to do female roles. We have one. Would you like to be the Lady Olivia?
Sure. Okay.
Okay, let's do that. Who wants to be Viola? Who wants to be Cesario?
Sure.
Okay, Nathan, you're going to be. Let's see. Let me find where we were starting here. Okay, let's start right there.
Sure, you have some hideous matter to deliver. When the courtesy, when the courtesy of it is so fearful, speak your office.
Okay, sure.
Right here.
It alone concerns your ear. I bring no overture of war, no taxation of homage. I hold the olive in my hand. My words are as full of peace as matter.
Yet you begin rudely. What are you? What would you?
The rudeness that hath appeared in me, I learned from my entertainer. What I am and what I would are secrets as maidenhead. To your ears, divinity, and to others, profane.
Profanation. Go ahead.
Give us the place alone. We will hear this divinity.
Most sweetly, lady.
A comfortable doctrine, and much may be said of it. Where your last text?
In Orson's bosom.
In his bosom. In what chapter of his bosom?
To answer by the method in the first of his heart.
Oh, I have read it. It is hearsay.
Heresy.
Heresy, right?
Yeah.
Heresy. Have you no more to say?
Good madame, let me see your face.
Have you any commission from your lord to negotiate with my face? You are now out of your text, but we will draw the curtain and show you the picture. Look you, sir, such a one I was mispresent. Is it not well done?
Exactly done, if God did it all.
Excellently done, if God did all.
Excellently done.
Oh, right. It is ingrained, sir. It will endure wind and weather.
Let's just stop. So what is she saying here? Excellently done if God did all. In other words, you're wearing all kinds of makeup. It's part of me. It will take wind and weather. It's okay, let's go on.
Tis beauty is truly is beauty truly blent those who red and white nature's own sweet and cunning hand laid on. Lady, you are the cruelest she alive, if you will lead these graces to the grave and leave the world no copy.
Okay, beautifully done. I know it's very unfair of me to ask you to read Shakespeare cold. It's not an easy thing to do. I was surprised when I discovered my daughter, who started read when she was 4, at 5 was doing a pretty good job reading Shakespeare cold. Okay, so Lady Olivia.
Oh, sir, I will not be so hard-hearted. I will give out divers schedules of my beauty. It shall be
Inventoried.
and every particle and utensil labeled to my will. As item 2 lips, indifferent, red. Item 2 gray eyes with lids to them. Item 1 neck, 1 chin, and so forth. Were you sent hither to praise me?
Okay, let's just okay. Well, what does leads up to this is Viola looks at her, and indeed she is presumably beautiful. 'Tis beauty truly blent, whose red and white nature's own sweet and cunning hand laid on. Lady, you are the cruelest she alive, if you will lead these graces to the grave and leave the world no copy. In other words, you've got to have kids, is what she's saying. And the lady said, well, don't worry about it. I'll put together an inventory of these things so that they won't be dead to the world. To which Viola responds,
I see you what you are. You are too proud. But if you were the devil, you are fair. My lord and master loves you. Oh, such love could be but recompensed, though you were crowned the non-peril of beauty.
How does he love me?
With adorations, fertile tears, with groans that thunder love, with sighs of fire.
Your lord does know my mind. I cannot love him. Yet I suppose him virtuous. Know him noble, of great estate, of fresh and stainless youth. In voices well divulged, free, learnt, and valiant. And in dimension and the shape of nature, a gracious person. But yet I cannot love him. He might have took his answer long ago.
If I did love you in my master's flame with such a suffering, such a deadly life, in your denial I would find no sense. I would not understand it.
Why? What would you?
Make me a willow cabin at your gate, and call upon my soul within the house. Write loyal cantons of contemnate love, and sing them loud even in the dead of night. Hallow your name in the reverberated hills. Hills, and make the babbling of gossip of the air cry out Olivia. Oh, you should not rest between the elements of air and earth, but you should pity me.
and it's just she comes up with this beautiful, I mean, Shakespearean, and of course she's knocking poor Lady Olivia over with it.
You might do much. What is your parentage?
Above my fortunes, yet my state is well. I am a gentleman.
Get you to your lord. I cannot love him. Let him send no more, unless perchance you come to me again to tell me how he takes it. Fare you well. I thank you for your pains. Spend this for me.
And basically Viola says, no, don't give me money. It's my lord, not myself, that lacks recompense. Look, okay, let's stop here just for a second, because Gabriel, I gather you have to go, right?
Yeah.
Okay, how can we help you out in producing something in prose this week, or poetry if you prefer?
From the article on George Orwell on the language,
Okay,
something sparked my interest in that, so I might write something along the lines of that. Or
That would be just fine, or anything that really appeals to you. I have not been giving you specific assignments, and you can explain this to your mother if you like.
Yeah.
I have some vast databases of suggested writing topics that are in the classroom if you feel like looking at them, but I'd much rather something comes up spontaneously.
Yeah.
You've got to get something written this week, it sounds like. So let's do that.
Okay.
Let me know if I can help with it. Okay.
All right. I'll see you next week.
Have a good week.
Thank you.
Oh, before we go back to Shakespeare, just something interesting. When I was listening to the Stephen Hawking's book, we have Theory of Everything, right? His argument against miracles just defines them out of existence, but it doesn't get rid of the problem, because all he says is the laws of nature always apply within their parameters, but miracles are outside of those parameters. Therefore, miracles can't happen. But that's just defining away the problem. That doesn't get rid of miracles.
It does
though.
define away the problem, but taken in a different direction, which I think would probably be acceptable to Stephen Hawking. As it has been said, not by Stephen Hawking, and I can't remember by whom, any adequately complex technology is indistinguishable from magic. In other words, there's no such thing as that which is outside of the laws of nature, but there may well be things outside of the laws of nature as far as we understand them. And I think he would probably be comfortable with that. And indeed, our understanding of the laws of nature is flawed and some cases rather feeble, but it's increasing. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
In the Mark Rylance interpretation of this that I was just watching yesterday, the Lady Olivia is sitting there after Violet's gone, and the Lady Olivia has been really rather taken by all of this. Violet has expressed herself beautifully and managed to put this point across so well. And of course, the text says here, "What is your parentage? Above my fortunes, yet my estate is well." That's the way it's usually interpreted. And most interpretations were, but what Rylance does, and I think this is so clever, he makes it very clear that he's been smitten by this gentleman who's just come in. And he does a wonderful job of that. So the audience is aware of that. And then she leaves, and he does this little soliloquy, and he starts out with, "What is your parentage?" He's making fun of himself. He's saying, what kind of a question is that? What is your parentage? You see what I mean? You can interpret it in very, very different ways here. "Above my fortunes, yet my state is well. I am a gentleman." And indeed, what makes him a gentleman? Education. The language is what makes the distinction. She knew she had it, and indeed she does.
The version you were talking about, is that one on YouTube?
The one I'm talking about is not on YouTube. If it were, it would be in our classroom. I have it on DVD. And I actually have there are some scenes from it on YouTube, but they're selections. And it's unfortunate. Let's see if you can find it. I'll bring it in if you like. Okay, so we have some interesting things happening here. Olivia realizes, well, first of all, we understand what she's saying here. Good. Unless the master were the man, how now? She's wishing that indeed the person wooing her were Cesario and not Orsino. And said, "Even so quickly may one catch the plague." The plague she's talking about, of course, is love. "Methinks I feel this youth's perfections with an invisible and subtle stealth to creep in at mine eyes. Well, let it be. What ho, Malvolio!" She calls Malvolio. She's afraid she's never going to see this young man again. So she pulls, which you will find that lovers have pulled throughout the ages, and one that you probably need to know about. If you're afraid, if you want to make sure to see somebody again, you leave something in their trunk, you leave something in their yard, so you have an excuse. Well, in this case, he's already gone. So what does she do? She takes off a ring and says, "Run after the same peevish messenger, the county's man. He left this ring behind him. Would I or not? Tell him I'll none of it. Desire him not to flatter with his lord, nor hold him up with hopes. I am not for him. If that the youth will come this way tomorrow, I'll give him reasons for it. Hie thee, Malvolio." He pulled this trick to make sure to see Cesario again. Malvolio goes off with the ring and says, "I do not know what, and fear to find mine eye too great a flatterer for my mind." What a wonderful way to put it. "Fate, show thy force. Ourselves we do not owe. What is decreed must be, and be this so." Submitting to the flood of fate that has suddenly descended upon her. Does that make sense? Okay, now I'm going to skip the Antonio and Sebastian here. It's nice to have it stuck in there, but let's take, I want to find, here, Malvolio catches up with the Lady Olivia. So, "Were you not even now with the Countess Olivia? Even now, on a moderate pace, I have since arrived but hither. She returns this ring to you, sir. You might have saved me the pains." Anyway, he gets her a ring and says, she doesn't want to have anything to do with it. And Viola plays along. She pretends. She said, "Well, she took the ring of me. I'll none of it." "Come, sir, you peevishly threw it to her, and it is her will that it should be so returned. If it be worth stooping for, there it lies in your eye. If not, be it his that finds it." She puts it on the ground. "Okay, pick it up if it's worth it." Okay, and so after Malvolio leaves, this scene, now I just happened to see this scene alone has been presented in a classroom by Judi Dench. Have you heard of her? Yeah, she's one of the major actors. She was the one who did Lady Macbeth that we saw last fall. Anyway, she does a marvelous job on this thing. But this is a soliloquy, and this is a complex soliloquy because, as this teacher explains in this presentation, most of the soliloquies, they have a single purpose and they have a specific environment in which they take place. This one is far more complex. We got a lot of things going on here, different emotions that she's involved with, and some of them that she shares. And let's do this one. If you don't mind, I'll read through it, and then I'll inflict it on somebody else next week, perhaps. So Viola's thinking to herself, "I left no ring with her. What means this lady? Fortune forbid my outside had not charmed her. She made good view of me, indeed so much that methought her eyes had lost her tongue, for she did speak in starts, distractedly. She loves me, sure. The cunning of her passion invites me in this churlish messenger. None of my lord's ring. Why, I sent her none. I am the man. If it be so, as 'tis, poor lady, she were better love a dream. See, thou art a wickedness wherein the pregnant enemy does much. How easy is it for the proper false in women's waxen hearts to set their forms. Alas, our frailty is the cause, not we. For such as we are made of, such we be. How will this fadge? My master loves her dearly, and I, poor monster, fond as much on him, and she, mistaken, seems to dote on me. What will become of this? As I am man, my state is desperate for my master's love. As I am woman, now alas the day. What thriftless sighs shall poor Olivia breathe? O time, thou must untangle this, not I. 'Tis too hard a knot for me to untie. This is an amazing piece of work here. And again, the rhythm exists all the way through. And at the end, he puts in a rhyme, just to close it off. O time, thou must untangle this, not I. It is too hard a knot for me to untie. Okay, are you following everything up to this point? It's a remarkable bit of work. I think it's probably my favorite. It's hard to say that of a Shakespeare play because there's so many wonderful things going on. Incidentally, if anybody's interested, the Independent Shakespeare Company is performing, starting this weekend, Pericles. Have you ever heard of Pericles? Ever seen it performed? I've never seen it performed. It's interesting that this would be going on. They're doing this in their little theater in the park. There's this wonderful company in the Independent Shakespeare Company that performs in Griffith Park, and they do 2 or 3 Shakespeare plays each summer. They're free, and it's absolutely a wonderful thing to go and see. And they do it for over a month, Thursday through Sunday. And this year in the park, it's going to be Romeo and Juliet and What You Do About Nothing, which are both absolutely marvelous. Forward to seeing those. But they're doing Pericles in their little theater right now. And the odd thing was, when I took class with David Melville, the head of the company there, he had each one of us choose a bit of text to work on. And oddly enough, I chose a chunk from Pericles, which nobody else had ever heard of. And sure enough, now they're actually going to be doing Pericles on the stage. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. And I look forward to talking to him again about it. Anyway, let's leave that for now. That's not quite all of the first act, or is it? I forget where we are as far as the act's concerned.
I think before this one is over, they played the trick on Malvolio. I think that's before.
Maybe, I think they plan it, but I'm not sure they get around to playing it. I don't remember.
I think they give it to him. I don't remember. I saw it. I saw them give it to him, but I don't remember which part of the.
That's the scene that they did in the Huntington Gardens weekend before last, was the conspiratorial scene in which they're, I smell a device. I have it in my nose too. I can write very much like my lady. Yeah. We'll do all of that next time and play around with it. Now, if go ahead and, I hate to say, watch all 3 of those that I've given you, if you feel like it, and if you can manage to see the Globe Theater production one, by all means, there are dozens of them out there. And one of the wonderful things about YouTube is you'll find amateur productions put on by wonderful universities all over the place that just film the thing and stick it up on YouTube. So there is no Shakespeare play that isn't somehow represented. It's wonderful to have them all there. We have just a few more minutes here. What shall we do with them?
What else do we have on our agenda?
Let's take a look at the agenda. Well, this was one of the things I like to throw at you because, indeed, Twelfth Night is just full of love of different sorts. Fraternal love. Where is this demonstrated?
Isn't that like love between siblings?
That's absolutely right.
So,
2 specific places in Twelfth Night where we see that. The Lady Olivia for her deceased brother. Indeed, she's in mourning for him. But somewhere else too, and we haven't actually, I skipped that part really. And that's the Viola for her brother Sebastian. She assumes that he is dead, and he assumes that she is dead. And so we've got that one going on. Fraternal love, self-love, narcissism.
That's Malvolio.
Malvolio, excellent. This chap here. Okay, love of alcohol.
The uncle.
oh yeah.
The uncle, right? He is indeed bibulous. Look that one up. one who loves alcohol. Love of learning.
It's
Philomathy.
Hmm.
The love of learning. Yeah, look that one up. This one, I think we don't see it so clearly or so obviously, but I think it's the theme that runs through the relationship between Viola and Orsino, and Viola and the Lady Olivia as well, is this appreciation for that. And in a way, also in Malvolio, he attempts to aspire to it. Okay, love of music.
the Count.
Yeah, if music be the food of love, play on, right? Interclass love between people of different classes is one of the big themes, because of course that's how they entrap Malvolio. They get,
Oh yeah, that's right. Malvolio thinks Olivia's in love with him.
right, and also wants it to happen, expects it to happen, and even realizes that there is precedent for it, and he mentions that precedent. So we have that as another example of it. There's another specific example, though, that takes place in this play later on. You who've watched the whole thing.
No, I've only gotten
Okay,
to
you've gotta watch the
scene
whole thing.
3.
Sir Toby Belch ends up marrying Mariah, the chambermaid. Okay, so we've got another example there at the end. And then love of appearing learned. Well, we've got him standing right there. Love at first sight.
That's Olivia with the.
It just keeps happening over and over again, doesn't it? It would seem to have been almost instantaneous for Viola with the Duke Orsino, and also for the Lady Olivia with Cesario. And about Sebastian and the Lady Olivia, well, we'll see that later on. It certainly does happen. And then selfless love. This is an interesting one. You think that is also playing a role in Viola's relationship to the Duke Orsino. Because after all, she is indeed doing everything she can to further his cause with the Lady Olivia. She is genuinely trying to woo for him, even though she's in love with him herself. And so there's certainly a selfless love aspect there. Patient love as well, as we will discover in that next. Do we have time for it? I'm tempted just to. There's a wonderful part here. Let me see if I can pull it up. This is one of the great lines from all of Shakespeare. Here we are. Duke Orsino and Viola are talking, and the Duke maintains that no lady could possibly love as a man does. And the lady Viola says, no, it's not true. They are as true of heart as we. And then she starts telling the story, and notice how she's telling it in such a way that she doesn't give herself away to Orsino, but the audience knows exactly what she's talking about. She says, my father had a daughter, loved a man. As it might be, perhaps were I woman, I should your lordship. And what's her history? A blank, my lord. She never told her love, but let concealment, like a worm in the bud, feed on her damask cheek. She pined in thought, and with a green and yellow melancholy, she sat like patience on a monument, smiling at grief. Was this not love indeed? We men may say more. See, she's regarding herself as a man here, referring to herself as a man. We men may say more, swear more, but indeed, our shows are no more than will, for still we prove much in our vows, but little in our love. But died thy sister of her love, my boy? Look at this answer. I am all the daughters of my father's house, and all the brothers too, and yet I know not. So that's something. Think about it. My father had a daughter once. And of course, he's talking about herself, not a sibling. And then at the end, I am all the daughters of my father's house. She thinks her brother's dead. And there's that other reference that comes in, and all the brothers too, and yet I know not. This patience on a monument, you've probably heard that. It's one of the most famous lines in Shakespeare. Okay, we will hit this all next time. Do we have time for a little free rice? Probably not.
Yeah.
So
My parents usually come late anyway now.
I'm sorry?
My parents come late anyway now.
Oh, okay. Well, let's give it a try.
Free rice is right there if you want to click on it on the
Oh,
third box.
indeed. There we go. This is just an online vocabulary game. And we have to answer one before we can jump up to a reasonable level. What level should we start at? Usually we start at 30 and go up 45 or so, which is probably a good. I think really what I'd like to recommend to you is to start at 20 and go up to 30 and keep doing it until you don't miss anything in there. It's worth getting it all, but let's start at level 30. Okay, prescience. Boy, they didn't start us with an easy one, did they?
Prescience is foresight.
Excellent. Vaticination, if you'd like, is another good word for that. Something oracular, to be able to see forward. Vaticination, mantic, or Sibylline are other words
Yes.
for that. Sibylline.
Sibylline books from Greek history.
Yes,
I think.
we're talking about Sibyl, exactly. Okay, emendation,
Correction.
right, to amend. Obeisance. Another word for that might be fealty.
Submission.
Very good. Or obsequiousness, if you'd like. Dissent.
Disagree. Although that's not a very good definition of dissent.
Excellent. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Beholden.
Indebted.
Very good. Squalor.
I mean filthiness, poor.
Absolutely. And squalid is the adjectival form. Antiquate.
To make obsolete.
Right. Perhaps even superannuate would be a nice word for that. Disservice.
To harm.
Excellent. Juxtapose.
Put side by side. Although isn't juxtaposition usually putting something side by side that are opposites?
Not necessarily, but generally to put them together, something that's can be compared to something else. Doesn't necessarily have to be opposite, but it very often is. Facet.
Aspect.
Very good. And indeed, also a surface of a cut gemstone, for example, is also a facet. Gaga, as in lady.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. Hegnate.
Tycoon.
Excellent.
Hmm.
Inflorescence.
A engraving tool.
I think we're going to have to go for flowering here.
Oh yeah.
Just
Yeah, I can
because
see that.
fluorescence it comes from that. Culpable. This, of course, is a common term used in legalese.
Blameworthy.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
very good.
I
Exculpate
can see
would be to remove the blame for something.
Clumsy.
Excellent. Maladroit is another nice word for this one. If you want to put that one on your list. One of the things we do in here is keep a vocabulary list, and everybody's been keeping their own little vocabulary journal and then sharing it with us because we post them on the site so we can see everybody else's. Pottage.
Let's do.
Buffon.
Unmindful.
It's going to be my guess. I'm not absolutely sure. I think it's that or puffy. It was puffy.
It was puffy.
It was puffy. Hemi demi semiquaver. This, of course, is known to anybody who studies music, but not in this country.
So
64th note.
Absolutely.
That's really long.
That's one of the
64th note.
important things that you'll find in this list is there's some very common words that simply aren't common in America.
Mhm.
Post, okay, we can guess that.
Hay fever. Yep.
Amply,
Fully.
Or fully.
He had an ample supply
efficiently,
of something or other. I would say-
let's go for fully.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not a good definition,
It's
is it?
it's not.
Okay. anarchic.
Lawless.
Yeah.
I think that's the best one. Corporal.
Yes.
Bodily.
It is indeed bodily, as in carnate, corporal, having to do with the body. Carnality. Okay, and
Oh,
here we
puffy.
got our wonderful Buffon. It's puffy. Changeling.
A
Simpleton.
This is interesting because it's not giving us a real definition.
yeah, isn't
here.
changeling some like a double crosser?
Changeling it stems from the ancient stories of the fairies making up with someone and putting someone else in their place. And I'm assuming that they're talking here about a simpleton. But that's really where it comes from, is a changeling. Quaff. You've just read about that in the Mikado. Laughter, laughing, ha ha, chaffing, ha ha, nectar quaffing, ha ha ha. If you remember the line.
So drink.
To drink, yeah.
To drink, very good. Cavort.
To
Rock.
I think so.
I think we have to go with rock. Yeah.
Yeah.
Privy.
Outhouse.
Right.
Yeah.
And it also has an adjectival meaning in the sense of, were you privy to this conversation?
Yes.
Coccoid.
Spherical.
Exactly. You look at the OID at the end there, and you know that it's describing some shape of some sort.
Yeah.
Mackinaw. Not an important thing to know. Nouns.
To articulate.
I think it has to be, yes. Toady. Here we're talking again about being obsequious, demonstrating fealty, demonstrating subservient.
Flattery.
Yeah.
Very good. Patterdemalion. Again, it's a guesswork as far as I'm concerned. It's not a word I use every day. But it has to be.
I think so.
Yeah.
It just feels like
Yeah.
it. It's got to be. Nonplus.
To perplex.
Excellent. Dandy.
Joke. Yes.
I guess. Isn't dandy more like something that's good?
Yeah. It's.
Well, it
Happy,
can be.
I guess.
That is a meaning of it. But let's look at this as a noun. Is he a dandy?
Then I guess it'd be a
Yeah. So then we.
So it's a fop.
Yeah.
Tentative.
it'd be unhurried, although that's not very good.
No, it's something that's temporary though, and therefore something for the time being, something as stopgap.
I thought tentative was more like someone who's afraid of something so they don't do it quickly.
That's another meaning of the word. You can be tentative, which is the opposite of temerity. Let's put temerity down on your little list, which is the opposite. That one's being so bold, you're being idiotic about it. Okay, so, caveat.
A
It's a warning. If you were to say something like, I say this with one little caveat. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Frigorific. Okay. We can guess at that one. It's not a word, again, that I would be likely to use very often. In fact,
I think passionate, but
I think we're going to have to go with chilling. That's my feeling.
okay.
Um,
To frustrate.
right. Thwart. Wonderful word.
That one's frustrate.
Frustrate. Another
Yeah.
good word for it would be to stymie.
Mm-hmm.
Locution.
The expression.
Interlocutory. Okay, very good. Hardtack.
Oh, biscuit.
Yeah, biscuit.
Although
It's interesting how they mix some of these fairly uncommon words together with the other ones down in the lower level.
mm-hmm.
Albescent. Think of albedo.
Oysters. Oh,
Something that has a high albedo is something that reflects light very well, like the moon, for example, has a high albedo. Rend.
To tear.
Excellent.
Okay. I take that as meaning that it's time to go.
Okay. Oh, you have a perfect out here.
I do.
Okay. Let's bring Let's bring this to an end. Very good. You did very, very nicely on that. We will continue next week. And I thrown a couple of other things into the classroom that I didn't mention before.
I'll make sure to read your 2 chapters, which I meant to do. I just
Please do,
Get out.
if you don't mind. And if you don't mind, and you think about it, I put into the classroom and will add it. Ken Robinson on education.
Okay.
In response to some of the things that we've been talking about in the last paper that came in. Robinson is a wonderful educator and he's got some great ideas. Okay, let's wind it up for today. Have a good week, everyone.
Okay, you too.
Thank you so much. It was great attending the class.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dennis. Yes, thank you. I just have one quick question because I have to, of course, balance it all out with everything else that she's gonna be doing. How much actual homework will she be doing, hour-wise per week?
As she has probably gleaned from her recent experience, I don't inflict a lot upon them.
Okay, that's
I give
good.
them vastly more than they can handle when
Okay.
it comes to reading matter and so forth.
Okay,
And then try to encourage them to want to play around with it.
okay,
But I feel that making it a chore, making it an onerous activity is not our goal. We
okay.
want to enjoy what it is. we're
I
doing.
appreciate that, yeah, because there's like 4 other courses she's gonna be involved in too, and that will require.
So many of these
excessive
kids have
homework.
so much on their plate.
I know,
And they don't have any time to learn.
no, it did, yeah, it
It's
that
part of
kinda
the
happened
problem.
this last
Strictly
year.
speaking, I've been asked to put together a grade system. And the grading system I've devised is simply 12 acceptable projects per semester.
Okay,
And those projects can either be written projects or presentations or pictures if you want, or
that's good to know.
recitations.
Okay.
I mean, we can do that. at any
Semester,
time.
okay, I think we can handle that, that's something we might be able to do. Very, very good, and I love the projection. How are you
I
doing such
suddenly
a clear
realized
projection?
somewhere along the line, we lost our broadcast.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
maybe because they were closing things down. I wanted to ask you because I do the ancestry class and I don't get such a clear projection as you. I'm wondering what is it that you're doing?
It's a pretty decent
It's
projector,
probably the
but it's very
projector.
old.
Oh,
They're much newer
okay.
and cheaper ones.
Well-
now than this one.
Oh, that's ViewSonic. Okay. Yeah, I have the I forget the one.
They're just some like
The
$600.
Epson. I have the Epson, but it just doesn't. I was wondering if are you using a Mac or a PC?
This is a PC. It's an old PC that
It is so much better.
Yeah.
What resolution are you working on?
I don't remember.
You don't know? Oh, I'm just curious because I go to the
Oh,
lowest
that's
resolution.
disturbing.
It tells me to go to the lowest resolution.
Oh, we still are broadcasting.
Oh.
Okay. I missed that. Okay, I'll bring our broadcast to an end. This is College Prep English class for homeschoolers signing off.